Welcome to FoxTalks Business Podcast with your host, Tanya Fox. Tanya has been an entrepreneur for over 20 years, owning retail, service, and franchise. She holds no punches and is never afraid to talk about the nitty-gritty. Together, you'll explore the good, the bad, and the motivational of business life, turning obstacles into opportunities and failures into successes. So grab your favorite drink and let's have some fun. Here's your host, speaker, crafter, and collaborator, Tanya Fox.
Waking up at the crack of dawn, rushing down the stairs, full of excitement and joy and a case of the giggles. This is a yearly occurrence for me. 99% of the time, I'm the one up before anybody else, just counting the minutes until I can wake up the rest of the house, including my child. That's right, I'm talking about Christmas morning. Now you may be saying, Christmas? Are you kidding me, woman? It's summer. And I know, I get it. But for today's guest, there's no bio needed. No who, what, where, when, or why. For just a single word, a single name, all questions can be answered. That's right. For the first time making his podcast debut, I am so honored, humbled, and thrilled. Here comes Santa Claus, right down FoxTalks Lane. So thank you so much for joining me today, Santa. I am so excited to have you on our podcast.
Oh, it's wonderful to be here.
And thank you for taking time out of your holiday, because this is like your downtime right now, isn't it?
This is a quiet time. It never stops, but it's quiet, yes.
So now the majority of my listeners are business owners, so entrepreneurs and stuff, but I wanted to interview you because you have the longest running business in history that I know of. And so I was wondering if you had any tips, like how have you kept going this long?
Well, I think what we've got is we've got a good product. We've got a very eager market. The children are really keen to get the toys. The grown-ups are really keen to get the memories with the children. And, we just do it. Plus our price is right. Cheap.
That's awesome. So you employ thousands of employees. So I know I've had employees before, and that can always be a big struggle. So what's the hardest thing about having so many employees?
Well, from a personal point of view, it's picking the right people to supervise the other people. And also being so long-lived myself, having the sadness of losing employees, or they retire or they die. That's a cause of sadness, really. But elves are wonderful, wonderful people to work with because they love work. You can't give them enough work. I can't imagine an elf joining a union.
Which is probably key.
You have to make them stop working. You have to make them take a break. They just love working.
And you do not find that these days either. So with the elves and, their love of candy, you must have a really good dental plan for them.
Well, they're very fortunate. They don't get any cavies or any tooth problems. I think it's just the genetic makeup of elves. They can eat anything that's going.
Oh.
And they're fine. So we don't have any work really for a dentist. Sorry, any dentists who are listening.
Well, I'm sure they're happy to lend toothbrushes to those kids that need them. I remember I always get one for Christmas. So
yeah.
In a previous episode that we had done on our podcast, I had talked with my husband, Glenn, about what it was like working together. So you have worked with your spouse for a very, very, very long time. So what have you done to sort of keep that work relationship and personal relationship?
Well, we've known each other a long time. I must say that Mother Christmas is the kindest and most thoughtful person I've ever met. And she's clever as well. And she's always supportive, and she helps to make sure we get the job done right. She's really the clever one in the marriage.
Oh,
I'm more the public face, but she's really the one that sorts things out.
So does she really do a lot of like behind the scenes stuff then?
Yes, yes, she's worked with our geneticists to help breed the best reindeer, the fastest reindeer, and she's worked with our logistical team because obviously over the years the job's got bigger and bigger and bigger as there are more and more people, and the logistics is something that I just don't understand the science, but she just seems to have a grip on it all. So if you like, she sort of props me up.
Oh, that's awesome. And who knew, right? We don't hear much stuff about that. So I'm sure our listeners are very excited to know that, especially our female listeners. So you make so many variety of product. What is the most requested toy that you get, say in the last 5 or 10 years?
Right. Recently, we're getting a lot of requests for electronics, so not so much for the strict toy, but for things like consoles, mobile phones, even augmented reality and virtual reality goggles and things have really, really grown. And drones were a big thing last couple of years. But we still get a lot of old style requests. We still get a lot of people wanting train sets, particularly mums and dads rather than children. But and I guess things like Paw Patrol these last couple of years have been very big. What are the chaps in the pajamas? I've lost their name. But
Oh,
so a lot of it is sort of television spin-offs. Peppa Pig stuff's been going for ages now. It's big. And My Little Pony. My Little Pony never seems to fade away.
and I remember getting My Little Pony when I was little. Like, so it just
Five,
like,
6 years ago, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Do you find that the toys sort of recycle? Because I mean, you've been doing it for so long. You must see them keep coming back, decade
Yeah.
after decade, they kind of recycle.
Yes, Barbie, Cindy will go into a bit of a decline and then suddenly they're big again. Perhaps there's a new movie. Lego is so big all the time, always. And again, you get a new movie franchise and up pops new Lego. But even the old standard basic Lego kits are always, always popular.
Oh, that's awesome. So what is your favorite toy to make?
Well, obviously, I love any toy that you make with wood because I was always a woodworker. I have to admit, I don't know how all the electronic stuff works or anything. And I think my personal favorite is like a rocking horse, but with antlers, a rocking reindeer, a rocking caribou, is it you call it in Canada?
Well, we have both. Yeah, we do
Right.
have mostly deer is
Yeah.
what we call them. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then we have the caribou and lots of moose out in Alberta, and yeah, so it's always exciting to see.
Yeah. So I just love making that because again, if I make that and give it to a child, the grandparents are so thrilled because I'd given them one 40,
Right.
60 years ago, and it's still the same. Whereas all this new stuff, it's new to them.
So with
Parents love
all of
making a bike because they always had a bike.
right, yeah. And with all of the new technology coming, you've still stayed with your traditional mode of transportation with the sleigh and the reindeer. Have you ever thought of, upgrading to something else or, don't break what works?
Well, what we've done is year on year, we've consistently improved the quality of the sleigh, um, good breeding programs to bring out the best, the fastest, the strongest reindeer. And it is very different now to what it was, say, in the 15th century. It's hugely more advanced, and the sort of Mrs. Claus, Mother Christmas, and the scientists have done amazing work. And, so it is changing all the time. It's not a case of don't change it because we have to. There's so much delivery to do now. We're going near the speed of light, and they tell me something to do with time dilation and things, but of course I don't get that. If it ain't wood, I'm not altogether keen on how to understand it.
And you get there from point A to B. So for you, that's probably all that matters.
Well, yeah. This is a case where Mother Christmas is so clever because she came up with the idea of getting children to leave carrots and reindeer relish so that we didn't have to keep going back to refuel. We're picking up bits of, and my idea was cookies and milk for me. I take full credit for that. But it was her idea about the carrots, and that's such a good idea. You know, it's simple. It's simple technology. It's not really even technology at all, is it? But it made life so much easier.
Because yeah, I guess they would get really, really hungry traveling that.
They're
that
burning
far.
up so many calories, but thanks to that idea, is a steady top up of calories all the way through the night.
And
it's a
exciting
long
for the
night.
kids too. I bet it's a long night. Yes, for sure. So we always see on TV, and I've known since I was a kid, about Rudolph and his glowing nose. And so can you demystify us on that? Is that actually what Rudolph is? Does he have a glowing nose, or is that Hollywood's take on it?
No, again, it's genuine. There's a whole load of science behind it, the genetics of it, and it's basically bioluminescence, a very advanced bioluminescence, and big red glow that sort of burns through a lot of fog. But even then, it's not always enough. A few years back, we were out on a very, very foggy night taking presents to a lighthouse. This was our last drop-off. And their light had broken. And even Rudolph's red light wasn't letting us find the lighthouse. But that's where Dasher came in and helped us, because he's got the best sense of smell you can imagine. And he could scent the oats that the lighthouse keepers were going to make their porridge with. As he
Oh,
cracked in on the scent of the oats. And in fact, we solved their lighthouse problem for them by leaving Rudolph there until they got the light fixed, because his light was shining so ships could see it, but we just hadn't been able to pick out the lighthouse. So it's clever science. I don't understand it.
that's awesome. And so, like, they must have been so grateful to have Rudolph's help, but of course you would be so generous to do that. And so they must just all know their way around. So to leave him, he would just instinctively know how to get back to the North Pole.
Yes, yeah. The lighthouse was just off Norway, so we were almost home. It was our last drop-off, which is why it was getting to be breakfast time for them.
Right.
And they came to us with the problem, and we were able to solve it thanks to Rudolph. But we
Oh.
only found them thanks to Dasher.
So everybody always talks about location, 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 and how that's so key in business. So what made you decide to pick the North Pole?
Mainly because that's where the reindeer live.
Right.
We tried other animals, and they just weren't any good to us. We tried elephants. You imagine having 8 elephants land on your roof. It's not a good thing. and horses, we thought, but they can't stand all of the extreme temperatures around the world. And reindeer were just the perfect animal, and it made sense to base our production facilities where the transport was. Same way as people build cities near rivers.
Right.
They were the basic transport. Well, that's how we came up with North Pole.
And I guess too, because you're generating so much energy and heat from making millions and billions of toys, the cold air probably helps to keep temperatures in the workspaces down as well.
Yes, I imagine it must do. I'd have to defer to my scientists. But yes, I mean, imagine if we were trying to do it in the middle of the Mojave Desert, it wouldn't be good.
Right.
The reindeer would be thoroughly uncomfortable.
So with your business kind of being seasonal, which we see a lot in some businesses. Now, I know you do have production year round, like you had said before, but you need time to get away and recharge as well. So where is the last place that you went and took a vacation to sort of recharge your batteries before the season kicks off again?
Well, living in the North Pole, normally you don't like to go anywhere too hot. So I wouldn't take a vacation in the Maldives or anywhere. But we came to a place called Dorset in England, where the weather's good, not so hot as to be uncomfortable. And just did a few days going around. The English have a thing called the National Trust. You probably have something similar in Canada, where you go to old places and You can look at where famous people lived. And that made a lovely change, you know. And this time of year, I have the beard a lot shorter, so I was able to go around unrecognized, which is a blessing.
Well, and people probably think they recognize you, but they think, no, he wouldn't be here on vacation.
Exactly, yeah, yeah. I think you can get away with quite a lot by slightly shorter beard and not wearing red and white.
Right. Yes. If you're not wearing this
Put on
suit,
a
that's
blue
probably
shirt,
good.
you're not Santa anymore. It's lovely.
And that's true. That happens a lot. I remember even when I owned my business, I only had my uniform that I used was just an apron. But it was funny how when I didn't have the apron on, people would kind of, they'd look at you and go, I kind of think I know who that is.
Mm.
So it sort of makes sense. Now I really understand how Superman and Clark Kent got away with it for so long.
Yes. Yeah. And also it's context, isn't it? I mean, if I
Right.
was wearing a blue shirt and I was standing with 8 reindeer on the roof, I think they'd still know who it was.
Right. True. So, besides obviously Christmas, which is obviously your favorite season or your favorite holiday, are there any other holidays that you really enjoy celebrating?
Yes, I like Easter because this is going to come as a shock, but I love chocolate.
And what is your favorite? Now I know it changes all over the world because, different cultures and stuff, but what is your favorite treat that gets left for you on Christmas Eve?
Do you know my absolute favourite is gingerbread Christmas trees?
Oh,
The frosting, and obviously we don't eat gingerbread men anymore. Not since he came to live with us at the North Pole. The elves all love him, and I think they'd go absolutely angry if we made any at the North Pole, because obviously Father Christmas makes them and me cookies through the year, but never gingerbread men. So I think that's probably my favourite. But I do like an Oreo cookie.
oh,
You have those, yeah?
yes, we do. We
Yes.
have very
Yeah.
many different varieties of them now. There used to just be one, but now there's mint and yeah, there's a bunch of different flavors. So, but
Yeah.
you just like the traditional one?
Yeah, or even the oats and raisins cookie.
Oh, okay. Yep.
The only problem with that one is the reindeer all want share because it's
Oh,
oats and it's raisins, and they love both of those.
so with the elves that we had talked about beforehand, do they stay at the North Pole all year round?
The vast majority, yes, yes, they're working in the factory or in the admin center. Some of them are, the scientific elves doing the development work, but some of them do the reindeer maintenance, and so in the summer, they go south to find the better lichen and moss to support the reindeer. So there's a main core of workers who stay, but then there are also the ones that travel with the reindeer. And it's a job, I tell you what, getting any of them to take a holiday. You're talking about needing a holiday. It's these little fellas, they won't unless you really make them.
But it's good when you love your job. I mean, that's the key to
Oh, it
keeping
is.
employees is making them happy.
Yeah.
So speaking of the reindeer, are there any other animals that you have yourself?
Yes, yes. We have a few elves who are blind, so we have their service dogs. But what we have to remember is they are working dogs, not pets, and we mustn't absolutely spoil them. We used to have ponies with the elves that went south with the reindeer would have ponies, but these days they all use snowmobiles and all-terrain vehicles, so we don't have the ponies anymore. One thing we've never, ever, ever had at the North Pole, which is a little frustrating when I see displays, is penguins. We never had penguins up there.
Oh, I would have thought you would.
No, well, you see, we don't. They're all down at the South Pole.
Right.
It's the old difference. What the old thing about what's the difference between a polar bear and a penguin? Well, all the difference in the world.
That's very true. Oh, I love that. Well, thank you so much for taking the time during your vacation to speak with me today. It has been so fantastic to learn more about the business side of being Santa and all that you do for around the world. But just before we end, I have a question that I have wanted to ask you since I was like a little girl. What is it that you would like for Christmas?
The problem with that is there are so many things that I've already got. Over a long life, you build up all your things. But what I would really like, and this is something more and more children seem to be asking me for, is the world to carry on, the world not to be destroyed by our exploitation of it. And is for everyone to have somewhere to be at Christmas and somewhere to have a meal and no one to be hungry and no one to be on the streets. Apparently, though, you can't say that these days, though.
I think that's wonderful. And I think we can all take time, especially as business owners, to maybe see how we can help other people that are less fortunate. And I know we always do that at our house. Our table is always open. We always have an extra seat for anybody who is either doesn't have a meal or is maybe away from their family. Or I think it's so joyous to learn about someone else. And I wish we could take the feeling of Christmas that people go through when they have that joy and that wonderment and that excitement and take that through and remember that feeling and take it throughout the year.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, there's the joy of giving. To be able to give to someone who needs something and you have it, that is such a joy, isn't it? And we can tend to get so caught up in our day-to-day lives that we forget that. So I fully agree with you. Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time today. It was an absolute pleasure to see you in person and learn a little bit more about the mystery of being Santa. So thank you so much.
Can I ask you one last question, Tanya, before we go? What did you think of your main gift last year? Did you like it?
I loved it. I was not expecting to get the voice recorder, but I was really excited when I got it because you knew exactly what I needed. It wasn't even on my radar. But when I got that, I started the podcast almost right after. So it was
excellent. So it's come in handy as well as being something you liked.
Absolutely. And I wasn't even expecting it. And I love it and that's my favorite thing about receiving everything that I do at Christmas from you is that it's always that one gift under the tree that I didn't think I wanted, but it was something that was always the perfect gift. You always just know exactly what I want under the tree.
Oh, that's brilliant.
And I will make sure that this Christmas we leave some extra carrots and oats for the reindeer so that they have some extra fuel while in Canada.
Brilliant.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been an absolute pleasure. And you did a video recently on YouTube about the gingerbread man story.
Yes, I did, because that's a book I've just got come out on iBooks. And I thought, well, I could make a little video of it because then people haven't got to buy the book.
Yes. Well,
I did it as Henley Santa, so people wouldn't necessarily know it was me.
Well, and there's a lot of writers who do that, right? Go under a mystery name. And for you, I think that's important because of course you don't want everybody to know, but we're going to link to that one so people can learn the story of the gingerbread man and how he came to live at the North Pole. Because I think that's
careful
exciting.
of spoilers.
Oh. Well, you'll have to buy the book to find out how he gets there and why.
Or watch the video.
We'll make sure
that's free.
Well, please send my love to Mrs. Claus and all of the elves.
I will do.
And you guys are doing such an amazing job and such great work. And you do so much for charities as well, all around the world. So it's so exciting for that. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'll see you then. Bye.
Bye. Well, that was the most amazing interview that I've had, and I was so honored that he chose to come on to my podcast. So kids, if you were listening to this episode with your parents, I hope you enjoyed some of the stuff that Santa had to say and learned a little bit more about Rudolph and how his nose actually glows. If you want to send a letter to Santa about what it is that you want for Christmas, or even just what's going on in your life, he loves to hear from you. So you can send your letters directly to Santa Claus at the North Pole, HOHOHO. So just mail that out and he will respond to you. And the wonderful thing about Santa is he knows all the languages. And when I was talking to him after we recorded, he was actually telling me that last year he responded to letters in over 200 languages. Now that's a lot. I only know 2 languages, so I can't imagine remembering all of those. But that's what makes him so magical. And parents, if you're listening to this episode with your kids, this is a great time to think about what you can do to help others who are needy. So whether that be donating to a favorite charity or maybe filling up and helping your local food bank for those people in need. It's something we need to always remember to do all year round. So although it's summer, I wish you guys all a very happy holiday, even if that's in the joyous sun, or if you're heading over to England or Ireland or Rome or anywhere else that some of you guys have sent me pictures of your vacation and where you've been listening to our podcast. It's always so appreciated to hear back from you. Now, parents, we have a very special part 2, but it is for your ears only. So you're going to want to tune into that and see what that's all about. And that'll be following this episode right away. So thank you everybody for tuning in. And as I always say, and especially with this episode, remember to enjoy the magic and have fun. Because if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?